Parents, school vendors, and the community are encouraged to be fully engaged in the Healthy Lifestyle School Intervention Program to ensure its success. The program is beginning to execute in primary schools across the territory and is an initiative by the Ministries of Education and Culture and Health and Social Development. It is designed to promote healthy eating and active living through nutrition and physical activity in grades 2 and 3 students in the territory's public schools. Reporting for the Department of Information and Public Relations is Information Officer Cherie Smith. Joining me on today's program to discuss the Healthy Schools Lifestyles Intervention Program and the role that a parent have to ensuring that this activity is a success is Miss Natasha Letsom. Miss Letsom, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Cherise.
Ms. Letsom, when you first heard of the Healthy Schools Lifestyle Intervention Program, what was your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts when I heard about the program was awesome. It's right in line with some of the things that I was practicing in my home. And, it's just awesome to see them coming up with such a curriculum to get the students engaged and to get them thinking healthy and living healthy. I think it's an awesome program.
Ms. Letsom, you just spoke of two things that you are already incorporating in your household. Can you tell us some of the activities that you currently practice regarding healthy eating?
Well, I'm a vegetarian and my children are vegetarians. Now, I only became a vegetarian in 2014. So last year I became a vegetarian. So all the other times I was eating meat, no pork, but meat, while my children were kind of semi-vegetarians, only eating chicken and turkey. So once I became a full vegetarian, they also became vegetarians. So one of the challenges that I saw is, okay, we cut off the chicken, we cut off the turkey, I cut off the meat. Okay, what are we going to feed these children? Okay, so a lot of people who are vegetarians are thinking, okay, tofu, these processed veggie burgers. And after doing a little bit more research, you get to find out that these products aren't good either. So you cut off the tofu, you cut off the processed veggie burgers. So I'm like, oh my God, we're going to starve. What am I going to do? So it's like, as a parent, you have to become creative. And that's what I think I've been doing to get them involved, to get them eating healthy, to get them eating right. I had to become creative.
So you said as a parent you had to become creative. So can you illustrate for us some of the meals that you have prepared for your children? Just give us a typical day so we can have a better understanding of this creativity and what we need to put into it.
Well, creativity for me was like, okay, after we cut off the veggie burgers, the processed ones, I'm like, okay, I learned how to make peas burgers. So I made burgers out of peas and different vegetables and nuts, and I made a burger out of that. And one day I was sitting down, I was like, we have the pasta and you have the pasta sauce. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's in this pasta sauce, but hey, I have a NutriBullet. I can make my own sauce. So I started playing around with different things, in the sauce, broccoli, spinach, tomatoes, mushrooms, all these things, I would blend up in the sauce until I got the recipe right. And now, like, the children love it. So sometimes if I send them with spaghetti and my homemade sauce, you might look at it and say, it's just spaghetti. But it's really a whole entire nutritional meal with mushrooms, nuts, with vegetables. So, that's one example. And another example is, the juicing. We do a lot of juicing. And in the blends that we call it blends, when I tell the kids, okay, let's make a blend, I encourage them to make their own. So they go in the fridge. I'm like, you have to put in a vegetable. So whether it be spinach or broccoli, I allow them to experiment and, let it become their own.
So what were the response and the feedback from the children? They seem pretty engaged.
Well, it was hard at first, especially for my oldest, because he has always been a picky eater. The others are okay, but him especially, I told him, I said, listen, you're gonna starve because I'm allergic to this. I don't eat that. All the whining I had to put up with him. But he liked the blending. He liked the juicing. So I would get in those essential vegetables and fruits for him in that way. And when I started, making the pasta sauce and the pasta, he loved that. And we eat fish, so I do fish as well. And when I make some time back, I did some pumpkin rice, and one of them came to me and said it made the rice yellow. And then one of them said, "Mommy, can you make blue rice? That's my favorite color." So I was like, maybe I can. So I blended up some blueberries, but it came out purple. And I mixed it up for them with all, blueberries is filled with antioxidants and, all kind of great stuff that they need. And they loved it. So it's just listening out to hear what they like. And every day I ask them, did you eat your lunch? Did you enjoy it? So I ask and I get back feedback that will help me improve my culinary skills to promote them eating more healthier foods.
So it seems like incorporating the feedback from the children and also making the process fun, including them in the process, are some of the tips that parents can utilize. But parents are saying now, Miss Let's that you spend a lot of time, preparing these meals, getting creative, taking time out to engage the children in the activities. So some parents concerned maybe it's time consuming. It may be expensive because we could just buy the packaged spaghetti and meatball and go. So
Right.
what encouragement would you give to the parents in managing time and finding cheaper alternatives?
Well, it's definitely time consuming. You have to take the time, but then when you really weigh it, are they worth it? Are they worth you spending extra time or spending an extra dollar or taking a little bit more care in the groceries that you pick up? And the answer is yes. So even though I have 4 children, I have a very demanding job, I still have to come home and pick them up and come home and help with homework and get ready for the next day. So it is time consuming, but at the end of the day, I think is worth it to know that you have a healthy child, to know that, there are many benefits to your child being healthy and eating right, and academically, everybody wants their child to be top in the class. Everybody wants their child to excel. And one way you could basically ensure that is to make sure they have these things in place. Make sure they eat breakfast daily. Make sure they eat a variety of foods. It's easy to, like you say, throw something in the microwave, pour some hot water over something, or, take something out of the can and call it a meal. And for days, that has its place, but that could never, and it should never be something that is practiced daily. And I would encourage parents to just take that extra care. And it could be seen as expensive, but really, when you cut off the meat, when you cut off the meat and you cut off all those processed foods, it's cheaper. My food bills actually have gone down because of that. I no longer do those veggie burgers. 4 in a pack used to be for like $7, and a bag of peas is $2, But you have to take the time out to learn. There are a lot of recipes that be going around on Facebook and different other mediums. Once your awareness is to something, that information will just come to you. So once I was open to finding different ways of eating healthy, a lot of inspiration came to me. And I could actually say that in all the years I've been cooking, this time is the most creative. I remember the other day I was trying to do peas balls, and I haven't really perfected it yet. It's quite soft because I haven't found the binding agent yet. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna put some flour in this one. And I put some flour and I rounded out. They were perfect circles. And when I fried it, I was like, this is not peas ball, this is peas bread. It looked like a loaf of bread and it tasted like bread. So what was supposed to be a meat ended up being bread, and the children loved it. And from that, I was inspired to actually make some bread. So I made like an apple, banana, something bread, and coconut bread. and, you know, just having fun. The children seem to like it, and, you know, I like it as well.
You know, my mother always say cooking is an art.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like combined with research and taking the time out just to learn about different types of food have been quite good for you,
It has.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still some parents who may have to rely on the vendors, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the different vendors that are next to the schools or provide lunch for students because they still don't have the time for some one reason or the other.
Sure.
What type of advice would you give to that parent who relies on the vendors to provide lunch for their students or their children?
Mm-hmm. Well, I had an opportunity to actually speak with one of the vendors, and I asked them that same question, and the response that I got was that the parents need to be more involved. They need to have that relationship with the vendor. They need to go and talk to them. They need to set out the menu for their child, especially if it's something that happens daily. You know, sometimes it's a one off something, but if you know your child is being fed by these vendors every day, you would, as a responsible parent, would have to have that relationship with the vendor to ensure that, okay, listen, on Fridays, this is the only time this child is, you know, afforded the opportunity to eat what is deemed as junk. And the rest of the week, I want to make sure that they're eating this, ensure that vegetables are added. That's a conversation that should be taking place between the parents and the vendors to ensure. Now we're working with the vendors. Look how quickly I changed sides. We're working with the vendors to offer more healthy meal options.
Okay.
And that's what's really going on right now. A number of community meetings are on the way as we speak to get those vendors to promote more healthy eating. But from a parental perspective, I think the onus is on us to ensure that our child or children eats healthy. And if we're not cooking it, we need to know what they're eating. So hence that conversation and that communication with the vendors.
Yes, and in addition to that, I know the government's aim is to have this program be the jumpstart to a healthier community. So, what tips do you think the parents can learn from preparing healthier meals for their children, and does it kind of going off into their own diet, incorporating healthy eating to their own diet? What type of relationship do you see with preparing healthy meals and then the parents' diet?
I think once the parent is preparing those healthy meals for the children, they too will become more healthier and more aware. Because I know when I cook for me and the children. I don't cook for them and not for me, or me and not for them. So as a byproduct, you not only are going to see the child in that particular grade, which is grade 2 or grade 3 as part of this intervention program, but you're also going to see families benefiting. You're going to see communities benefiting if the buy-in is seen, if you see the vendors jump on board or the wider community jump on board. But once you change something in your house, your whole house benefits. And once you as a person start to change, you're going to tell your loved ones as well, listen, this is what I'm doing and this is the benefits I've seen. And, you really need to get on board. So it's like a word of mouth kind of exploding phenomenon that will occur that will equate into a healthier Virgin Islands long term.
Yes, and what advice would you give to us Caribbean people? We tend to use a lot of salt, a lot of sugar, the transitional phase, because we don't expect you to go from eating quote unquote junk to a vegan overnight. But what advice or what little tips or comments would you encourage us as Caribbean people when we're preparing our meals?
I would say reduce. We're not asking people to give blood here. We're asking people to just have some consideration. So if you know you're accustomed to eating cheeseburgers every day, you cut out 3 times a week. You have it, 4 times a week instead of 7. We're asking you to reduce. One thing I've noticed, though, I've cut back a lot on the salt. I've cut back a lot on the salt. I'm using more seasoning, garlics, herbs and so. And what I've noticed is that everything is salty. I can taste salt in everything. I used to love to eat Captain Crunch cereal. And after I started cutting off the salt, one day I bought a box and I'm, you know, sitting there anxious to eat it. And the first taste, I threw it away because it was a nasty, horrible taste of salt and sugar mixed together in that cereal. And that was the first time I have ever differentiated it because of how I reduced my salt. And after that, I'm like, you know, I cut off Captain Crunch, Fruit Loops, Apple Jacks, the whole nine of them. I don't want anything to do with them, and I stopped feeding those types of cereals to my children.
In addition to healthy eating, this program also contains physical activity. What physical activities have you and your family been doing?
Well, I must admit we're a little behind the curve on the physical activity. Sometimes, you know, there's just not enough hours in the day, and I pick my battles. So I prefer to try to get them eating more healthy than to you know, burning extra time taking them out. But I now that this intervention program is coming on stream, and I know that my son will be, you know, coming home with little things to do, I think I will find my motivation there because I want to assist him in doing good in his class and as part of the whole intervention program. So I have already made a mental note that I have to, you know, start. And one thing I know though is like I would go out sometimes, and there have been times where I went walking with, you know, my children, not all of them at the same time, but on, you know, separate occasions. And you know, I have a little daughter, she's 4 years old, and you know, she always remembers that time when me and her went walking, and she talks about it. She's like, "Mommy, you remember we went walking?" You know, and you know, she seemed to love it. And I think that is something, when you go out and you walk with them, you talk with them, you get to find out what's going on with them. And it's like a personal time and a personal bond that could be derived. That's also a benefit of, you know, doing some physical activity with the children. So if it's not walking, you know, I could always take them on the basketball court and try to transfer my knowledge to them. I'm hearing them talking about wanting to be basketball players. I was just waiting for them to have the desire. And once I free up some time, you know, I'll go ahead and do that with them as a source of that additional exercise.
And what long-term benefits do you see for this program for your family?
Well, for my family, really it is a reinforcement of what I've been, or we've been trying to instill in our children. And I remember the first day of school when they went with, you know, the blends, the juice. And my son's teacher asked, "Well, what are you drinking?" And he was like, "My blend, and it hasn't this, that, you know." And the teacher was like, "That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Healthy, healthy." And he came home so proud that he got that recognition from his teacher. And it just, for them, I think it will help them to understand what I am doing. So it's like the program is a reinforcement to what I'm doing at home as well, because from their perspective now, when the teacher comes and brings them the information that I've already been teaching them, then it will click in their heads and they will understand me a lot better, and then they would, I think they would make more of an effort to be on that health regimen. And you know they're on it when their thoughts are healthy. You know, my daughter would say, "Mommy, I love water. I love water. Water is so healthy. Mommy, we're so healthy." You know, everything comes out and what we're healthy. I was like, "Yes, baby, we're healthy." And then, you know, one time my son wanted to order some pizza, and she's telling me, "Mommy, just a little bit of cheese." Because too much cheese gonna make you sick. You know, so this is some, she's 4 years old, and I just kissed her because this is what I want to hear. And this is a sign that she's listening and it's having an impact. So, you know, I love the intervention program. I love it because it goes hand in hand with what I'm doing. And I think that overall it would be definitely the best thing for every little child and for every community, and then in the long term for every adult.
Can you imagine her sharing that information with her colleagues at school?
You know,
It's like motivating persons for healthy eating.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes from a child or when it comes from a pair, the message is more receptive than when it comes from an adult hanging over you, telling you, do this, do that. So stuff like that would definitely make an impact on her school, the
Definitely.
students, and then the wider community. Same thing with what the government is trying to do.
Same thing. So it must be true. And, you have to make it fun for them. One of the things I do is, sometimes, we live in the Caribbean. We have all sorts of natural indigenous fruits growing here. And sometimes we think fruits should be apples and oranges and watermelons and, different things that we don't necessarily grow. But what I've been doing is, whatever fruits are in season, sometime back we picked a whole bowl of sea grapes and I gave them bowls of sea grapes, small bowls of sea grapes for their snack. I've sent guineps, I've sent mangoes, so at first I used to be like, oh, you're going to mess up your clothes. But then I'm like, no. When you're eating, just put on a napkin in your shirt or whatever. Be careful. And, I send them with what basically I pick out in the yard or off of somebody else's tree. And that's fun for them too. And I even heard the big one that has issues with eating, talk about, oh, I think sea grape is my new favorite fruit. So it's like, they've seen it, they're a part of it, they love it, they go out and help me pick these fruits. So they are more inclined and they feel good and they feel healthy.
And what a way to cut costs as well.
Definitely.
This is Let's Up as we wrap up this program. Is there anything else that you would like to say to reinforce the message?
Well, well, basically the message is towards a healthier you. Making our children more healthy, making them more academically inclined. As part of the intervention program, there's 5 behavioral changes that, we want to see, and we want to see them eating breakfast daily. We want them to eat a variety of foods. We want them to eat fruits and vegetables. We want the reduction in salt, sugar, and sugary snacks and drinks. And we also want to see that exercising. And I think it's not hard to do. And like I said, you don't have to go cold turkey, but you just have to make a start. And once you make a start, the end will come. And the end result for everyone would be nothing but benefits. The child would benefit. You as a parent would benefit, because if you don't have to worry about taking care of a sick child, that is a lot of stress off of your plate. The healthier your children are, the healthier you are. So, the less fussy, you're mentally stable because you have children that are balanced. So, you as a parent stand to gain a lot from your children being healthy, from your children being balanced. The exercise, as an athlete, I know that good eating and exercising definitely plays an impact on your grades. You're smarter, you're more aware, your memory, you're clicking. So when you start them off right, especially with breakfast, and when you seek to give them healthy meal options, you are ahead of the game. Academically, you produce high academic students. You lower their vulnerability to obesity. You all those diseases, chronic diseases, asthma, whatever, you will help reduce that for your child. So I think overall, when you look at the health benefits and you look at just the simple changes, it shouldn't break the bank. I think that most people will be inclined to, on some level, adopt some of the behaviors. And if you could adopt at least 3 of the 5, that would be awesome, and you'll definitely see the change. But of course, we're advocating for all 5. But like I say, in my own household, that's why I'm so happy that you interviewed me today, because it's something I'm very passionate about. It's something that I love. Health has always been on my mind as a child, being an athlete and eating right. It's always ingrained. So once, like they say, and it's true, once you learn from a young age, as you grow, it grows with you. So you just want to pave that way for that next generation of healthy people who will who will breed more healthy people. And in the long run, what we're looking for is a healthier territory. And I think this intervention is definitely a great start. And I would encourage parents and caregivers and, guardians to definitely try your best to support the intervention and, see how we all could play a part in the health of the children of our territory.
Thank you, Ms. Letsom. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
Promoting healthy eating and active living is at the core of the Healthy Lifestyle School Intervention Program, which seeks to prevent childhood obesity in school-age children and is designed to help to delay or prevent the onset of obesity and chronic non-communicable diseases in the future while improving academic performance. In order to make this intervention program a success, we need your help. Partner with the government to secure the health of the next generation. A healthier Virgin Islands begins with the youth. I would also like to encourage the listening audience to continue to support the Healthy Schools Lifestyle Intervention Program as we move towards a healthier Virgin Islands across the life cycle. For more information about this program, telephone the Ministry of Health and Social Development at 468-2282 or visit the government's website at bvi.gov.vg. I am Information Officer Cherie Smith. Thank you for listening.